Hi, and welcome to Drawing Lara Croft Part 1. Hi, my name is Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist in the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 20 years now, and I'm here to empower you. So this video is going to be sped up. There's going to be a 2-hour long version of this video only for my patrons, for anybody who wants to study it, and I'll talk about that at the end of this video. But for now, I'm just gonna show you what happens, and there's a bit of a struggle here, so let's get to it so I could start talking about it. So I tend to use reference most just to try to get an idea for a pose, something that captures the intent of the drawing. Ideally, what I wanted out of this is something that said that Lara Croft is powerful. She can get things done. She knows what she's doing. She's confident. So obviously I was using these poses because I thought that it kind of captured what I wanted. So I would modify it and sketch it and look at these reference things and I here I think I wanted her to be holding the bow straight and then having her other arm kind of holding it down like this. But then it didn't turn out that way. So maybe if she was just grabbing an arrow. I was having a lot of trouble just trying to solve a good pose, something that would say what I wanted to say, and I couldn't, so I just kept on trying. This is the thing that I have by far the most trouble with, is just coming up with some pose to draw. Like, once I have the pose, the drawing becomes a little bit easier because then you're just worrying about executing the drawing. But for me, the hardest part is coming up with a pose. So at the end of the day, I came up with a very dull pose. And one of the reasons why I ended up going with this was because I wanted to not have Lara be so far away. The problem that I'm having here, because this is supposed to be a postcard, and the postcard, I don't know if I have an example of it here, of one here, but this is close enough. It's about yay big. It's about this big. Not quite. It's a little bit wider, but it's generally about that big. So whenever I do a full body or from the knees up, by the time I have to sit down and ink it, the head is like that tiny, and I don't want to be inking a tiny head. So it's better if it's almost a bust, or if it's waist up is better. Anything that's knee up, it doesn't quite work. And anything that is there's just too much action, it doesn't quite work. So I thought that doing the bust would be the best way to go about doing it. And so you saw me really quickly sketch out and rough out the drawing really quick, and here I am now tightening up the drawing. So usually I come up with a really quick sketch. I generally place the things that I need to place in place, and then I go in and start really finessing the drawing, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, really working it out. But see, I have something to work with now. I have an underlying drawing, an underlying structure. So this took me quite some time. I think this is probably day 2, because I was struggling with that first part of the pose. And here I turned everything off just to see what details I was gonna leave out. And the advantage of having digital is doing things digitally is that you can adjust things on the fly. If I wanted to reduce that mouth, I would have had to erase it and then redraw it, or I would have to go to a copy machine, reduce the mouth, and then cut it in or retrace it in the right size, depending on how complex the drawing is. And that's what I would have done if it was analog. But digitally, at least I could just really quickly reduce things and move it around without having to use a copy machine or have it to redraw something. It saves a lot of time. So here I'm just putting in the body, the structure. I'm just refining and defining, and using the reference I've got as a guide, giving myself some guidelines as to the structure of the hair, what direction the hair is. Now later on, as you can see, that this body chest area that I'm drawing, this shoulder area, is a kind of enormous, and she kind of has a giraffe neck. So I'll eventually fix it. What ends up happening when you're drawing something is sometimes you just can't objectively see what you're drawing, and it takes a little while for you to go, oh, that's not working. And there are tips and tricks that you can, there are little tricks that you can do to allow you to help see the drawing a little bit more objectively. For example, flipping the drawing flipping the drawing over, like the mirror image of the drawing, you get to see things that you weren't seeing, because it allows you to see the drawing in a new way with fresh eyes. And so here I am reducing the eyes, because I think I went overboard with the eyes. I thought they were way too big. They weren't quite balanced, and so I made adjustments in this flipped over version of the drawing. It really helped refine the drawing for me, and helped me see what needed to be done. For example, this is where I actually did see that the shoulders that I had drawn were enormous, and she had a giraffe neck. And now I think that her shoulders are a little bit too broad even here. The drawing, what ended up happening here was that I ended up just getting so focused on making sure that I'm drawing a pretty face that I failed to realize that it doesn't matter how pretty the face was. It didn't say what I wanted to say about the character, and it wasn't interesting to me. It wasn't dynamic to me. It wasn't a dynamic pose. It was just her sitting there looking at the camera. And you saw me shrink the body again, and this is a little bit more, it feels a little bit more unitive. It doesn't feel like she's just got a gigantic body and a tiny head. And I flipped it, and now I've reduced it to a blue layer, so that I could start inking it. So I really thought that this was what I wanted. It turned out, by the time that I got to the point where I finished this, that it really, I felt deep down dissatisfied with this drawing. And I was talking it over to a friend of mine who is also he's also my drawing mentor. And one of the things that I said was, well, I had this drawing of Lara Croft, and I worked on it for a long time, and it's fine, and I put it up on Instagram, and people really liked it, and the more I think about it, the more I don't think that's what I want. I don't think that I like it, but I drew it and I showed it to people, and I'm going to be giving away this postcard, And he said, well, you know, if you're not happy with it, throw it away. Just don't be afraid to you know, kill your babies. Your precious little drawings. It's if you drew one, you could draw more. It's just that simple. And it really made me go, oh, yeah, right? If I drew one, I could draw more. This isn't the only Lara Croft drawing I could do. I could do another one. And it's okay. And I can not use this one. So that's what I did. In spite of the fact that you're seeing that I did so much work on this, I made the decision to not go with this and not draw and not go any further with this, even after I put as much time and effort into this as I did. And I'm happy that I did, because you will see in the next video what ended up happening. And on top of that, I do something that I'd never done before in that next video, and I liked how helpful it was, especially because it helps me with poses. So this is the final drawing. I hope that this has been helpful, and so I just wanted to let you know that this is a speed drawing. This is not how long it took me to draw, and if you want to see the struggle in real time, I'm putting the real-time version up on my Patreon for my Patreon page for my patrons, so that they could watch it. And it is an extremely long video. It's about 2 hours long. And the reason I'm doing that, and I'm not going to narrate it. I don't narrate the video. It's just too long to narrate. But I want it to be there so that if somebody wants to study and understand how long it takes to do a drawing in real time, like how long it really took me to do that, you could skip ahead that way, and just having watched this video as kind of like the summary of the video, you get to see it at a little bit faster pace. Then you can go to the parts that were most interesting to you in the long form video and study how I work something out, how long it took me to do something, what it is that I did, and then maybe that person could ask me questions on Patreon, and then we can discuss what they don't understand about it from the real-time perspective, and I'll be absolutely happy to talk about that sort of thing. But I thought that it would be much more useful for somebody who's studying drawing to have the normal real-time version as opposed to just a sped up version, because oftentimes when you watch a sped up version, you think that's how fast you're supposed to go, and then when you're not drawing as fast as the videos that you watch, then you get frustrated and it doesn't make any sense to you. The link to that video is in the description of this video, so if you want to go there, and you can't actually view it unless you're a patron, so you know, at the most basic level, you'll be able to view it for like $1. You'll be able to see it. It's open for any patron. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you next time. All right, bye.